Today, we're pleased to introduce Miss Jen Uschold. Ms. Uschold is a physical therapist specializing in using science-based strategies to help individuals manage pain effectively. With her expertise as a fellow of pain science and certified positive intelligence coach, she focuses on guiding people through challenges such as using principles of preparation, choice, and repetition. I went through your website and I saw that you I guess started off in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
That is where I went to school. I am a native of Western New York, outside of Buffalo.
Oh, okay. All right. My wife's family is from Scranton and Wilkes-Barre.
Wilkes-Barre, yep.
Decades and decades back, I guess back in coal mining and everything like that. So
nice.
Yep,
so she doesn't usually the locals don't like all the Scranton students, a pain in the butt students. So I don't know what your wife thinks about the students at the U.
Her father, when he was a single man, moved to Washington, D.C. for better work. And her mother, when she was single, moved to Washington, D.C. for better work. And that's where they met. So
fascinating. Well, that's kind of neat then. That's a good story. I like it.
They still have a little house on the little cottage on the lake up there still, Lake Ariel. So that's go there for summer. Okay, so I think we talked a little bit before about your method or procedure of walking people through a calming or I guess reducing anxiety. Is that about right? Is that because again, what I see in court is obviously high anxiety, and I try to imagine go to the courtroom the day before, walk up and down, find a place to park. So at least, all the things that could really knock you loose from your focus as a good witness, walk it through, physically go there, or else I'll tell them as best I can. Have you ever testified in court before? What did you say? What did you do? Listen to the question. Well, how do you do it?
Yeah, so I love what you're describing, and I would say it's similar, and then I'm taking it a lot further. And we need to step back a little bit, because we need to understand what's going on for the individual person, because every person that you are preparing for court is coming with a different history and a different story, and their anxieties have different bases. So we need to get curious with that person about what's showing up, and then we help them understand a little bit of the why. And then the most important part is the repetition. So I absolutely love the idea of having them find their parking spot and, see what the courtroom looks like. My suggestion is that people do this weeks in advance, and they're doing it over and over again, because the science behind this is that literally we are creating new pathways. Part of my work in mental fitness is broadly, we're just going to say negative emotions and stress and fear and anxiety are on the left side of our brain. And they become very well-worn paths or superhighways. And so especially those going through divorce and what that experience is like, the paths on the right side, which is where we can be problem solving, we can be creative, we can be curious and have laser focused action. Those pathways, they're not so dominant. So the beauty of neuroplasticity, which I first learned about in my pain world, we can now apply to people going through divorce. And I did work with somebody not too long ago, specifically on the court date. We did visualizations, and she got very emotional during this visualization. And then we kept doing it. And then she was able to, in the visualization, see her spouse in court and not have that visceral effect. And then when she's able to successfully do it in her mind, then she's going to be able to more successfully do it in the actual space of the courtroom.
That's a good idea. And I was just thinking, now obviously they won't let us into the courtroom the day before, to actually walk around and gather, sit in the witness chair and that kind of thing. But writing everything down as you say it. So whether I can take photographs of the inside of each courtroom.
Yes, and that is what I did. Yeah, I didn't have to go to court. I got lucky, but I did have a judge mediation. And so I took pictures of all of the different rooms that we might be in, and I got myself ready for that environment in that way. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. There's one judge, he's retired now, but he was a family law judge, and he used to have essentially every baseball cap in the world spread out in his courtroom. he could talk about each one. So you'd walk in, and the first thing you'd see is, 3 dozen baseball caps lined up right at the bench, and then more over here. And so took the anxiety away. But yeah, he's retired
That's
now.
interesting. I
Mhm.
like that. I like
Yep.
that.
That only works if each judge gets assigned a courtroom. If they move around, then that kind of stuff doesn't happen. But yeah,
That's
okay.
harder. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think for your clients that know they're going to go into this courtroom where these baseball hats are going to be there and know
Right.
it,
Mhm.
that's going to bring a sense of calm versus walking into a courtroom for divorce and be like, why are there baseball hats? So we can
Where am
even
I?
set them up for success there as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And also even things like the size of the court. Some courtrooms are huge, 200 people, and then there's other courtrooms, they might have 20 people at most. Two rows versus 20 rows for seating. So just the scale, the scope, how close are you going to be to the judge, that kind of thing. And then it's always surprising. You got to tell them that the judge has a back door. Like where you walk in the courtroom, where's the judge? And they'll come in. But
That's probably good to know, right?
yeah,
They're spinning their heads around.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that comment about the different sizes
Mhm.
because again, this comes back to each individual. So
Right,
some people, if they've had upsetting experiences or traumatic experiences in bigger spaces, that
right.
may then play a role in their experience in the courtroom. And
Mhm.
again, if they can know it, they can prepare for it, and then their brain is going to be their friend
Right.
more than their enemy during the proceedings.
Or the opposite, if it's a real small courtroom and they have a violent relationship with the other party, and now they're sitting 10 feet apart with only, two lawyers in between, and the deputy is, so.
You're exactly right. And so that is a good lead into the main overarching premise of my work is to create safety in their nervous system so
Mhm.
that they can do what it is they need and want to do during those proceedings. And there are so many ways we can do it, and it's really individual specific.
What I do, obviously, rehearse the questions to the extent possible, go through the courthouse, try to lay out everything physical step by step. And you're going to wait in the hallway, call you in, go on the witness stand, talk for 5 minutes and leave. I'm going to ask you this, 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 and this. And I print out the questions. Here it is. And I don't want you telling me about what the doctor said, because that's hearsay. We got to focus. How do you walk them through that situation, or what would you do?
Yeah, I love the prep work that you're doing with them. And I'm just going to zoom it out. So
Mhm.
instead of just preparing them for just those questions and just that day, I'm working to prepare their entire selves. And so part of their preparation for showing up that day and responding as you've rehearsed is getting good sleep. It's paying attention to their nutrition. It is recognizing when they're being hijacked and knowing their strategies, and most importantly, practicing their strategies. Because as much as we want to create a predictable environment, way better than me, court can be very unpredictable.
Mhm.
And so I want my clients to have the ability to be prepared and also know that if something gets thrown at them, a curveball, that they are
Right.
going to be able to find a way to regroup, as opposed to too often, myself included, having that breakdown.
Again, I'm writing this down. Sure, the client and in my world, we can do redirect. So if I ask them the question, I finish, opposing counsel comes up, hits them with a bunch of zingers, and then I can redirect, but only focused on the new information. What is he going to say about you? What is the bad? Tell me the bad stuff. True or false. That hopefully is my plan B on how to respond. And again, I guess just I had a client that displayed herself for money. And
Very discreetly said.
her parents were sitting right there. And
Wow.
well, apparently she was helping out with the marriage, and the husband was at the time was okay with it. Yeah, but that was almost had a fight in the courtroom there. So that was
Yeah, that's interesting. Again, I love the prep work you're doing with your clients.
Mhm.
And just to add on to that, as an additional benefit for your clients, is the ability to know that we're not ever going to have all the answers. We're not going to have all the questions. We're not going to have the answers. And to know and trust, yes, go in with this intention. Do your best to get that outcome. And
Mhm.
also know and believe that if that's not the outcome, you will be okay. Because most of us going through divorce are in horrible states of fear. And so that fear really holds us back from showing up the way we want to. And that is the work of the mental fitness that I do. You had mentioned I'm a positive intelligence coach. This is my one sentence summary there is we're really teaching people how to harness their brain to be their friend more than their enemy. And so an example is, so say the opposing counsel nails them with 3, 4, 5, 10 really stressful questions. Having strong mental fitness allows you to come out of that quickly and then get back on track again versus the crumble that I've experienced.
And of course, they can always appeal.
They can always appeal, right?
Okay, so that's I've kind of focused this on the courtroom, but I mean, obviously 99% happens outside the courtroom. And so another big, probably the worst fights are the custody fights. Obviously the lawyers can't be there all the time with the exchanges and everything like that. But one thing that trying to maintain some structure that I'm using a lot more are the online diaries. And so that each parent puts in what they're doing and the pictures and the school plans and the vacations and they just added photographs now. I feel like that adds, and it's all court evidence too. I mean, we can go back and download it and show it to the judge. So it kind of keeps the parents so they behave themselves. And then you just kind of hope the kids get the benefit of it, of two parents that are, finally acting like adults. I was wondering, that's a mechanical, technological solution, but what should the parents do either on their own or with the other parent to try to train the other parent, say, to become a better parent?
That is a loaded question.
Intentionally so.
So I'm going to start with, if we're dealing with both parents, maybe in a collaborative law approach, it's working with them separately and together. Because the reality is, if one parent is going to choose to stand their ground and be manipulative and gaslight and things like that, there's not a whole lot we can do about that. And I'm also going to contradict myself, because the way we show up can influence those around us. I'm pretty sure, I'm going to guess that you've gone into the courtroom and maybe you've had the same judge 20, 30 times. And there's a day you can sense something is different. And we don't know what it is, but he's giving off a different energy. Maybe he's a little depressed. Maybe he's a little bit angry. And that is going to influence your experience in court. Now, you can either feed into that anger or depression that he's displaying, or you can choose to show up even more grounded and curious and empathic, and you might be able to pull him a little bit more towards neutral. So the same is true when we are interacting with our spouses, is depending on how hot and heavy it is, we can choose to show up differently and hopefully nudge them a little bit more towards the middle. My work focuses more on the individual versus working with couples. I think that the idea of having people go through the mental fitness has potential as a couple. We do it with non-divorcing couples. I'm not there yet.
No, okay.
However, but working with the individual, it is, again, helping them to understand how have they shown up that hasn't been helpful in the marriage. Are they someone who is avoiding situations? Are they someone who's trying to control? Are they someone who is hyper rational about everything going on? Because these things don't serve the marriage. And so when they can understand how they're showing up, that's when we can interrupt that behavior. And then we do the mental fitness exercises to create the new pathways so that they're coming in from a different perspective. And then they can be curious. They can problem solve. They can listen rather than the first word out of their spouse's mouth. They hear that tone of voice, they hear his or her name, and they're already on fire. Okay, let me listen, because, there's usually at least 10% that we can agree with. No matter what someone says, no matter how wacky of an idea it is, we can find 10% to agree with. And that is a coming towards, as opposed to further pulling apart. So again, go ahead, sorry.
I say it catches them completely off guard.
Yes, exactly.
Expecting the usual fight.
Yeah. So, you know those Chinese finger locks?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
The more you pull apart, the harder it is.
All right.
Versus can we come together a little, and where can that take us?
So, I mean, I kind of see them after that, when things have fallen apart, but they still obviously have to, visitation every other weekend and that kind of stuff. So, I say, keep a journal. Again, one of these online services is fantastic. Holds each side accountable. They show up for visitation? Did they skip visitation? Did they bring the child back on time? Was there a good reason? I mean, my car broke down, post it online,
Exactly.
And now you can say, well, yeah, I was late, but whatever. Informing the other parent of school activity, or not informing the other parent, you never showed up for the soccer game. Well, you never told me. I guess that's the kind of box that I try to put them into. I think I realized what I'm doing really is just generating more fuel. If you told him the after school activities and then the father never took the child for piano lessons, gotcha. Is it really, it's certainly more structured, and it certainly gives the client something to do, certainly helps me out the next time we go to court, because now I've got 15 missed piano lessons. Is it helping the child? Is it helping the other parent? I don't know. But
I love that insight and that curiosity, because I would say there are probably couples where that is a game changer, lifesaver, and really helps the relationship and the parenting. And I would say we have the opposite, where there's just no place for it. There are some parents, they're not going to succeed in that anyway. Right. And so just like the tools and strategies that I have my clients use, they are driven by them. They are making the choice. I give them information and options, and then they get to choose, is that going to work? So I think that's the same with something like that. There's so many great aspects about that. And also sometimes we can get too much data. And then like you're saying, is that data sometimes becoming fuel? I really try and encourage people to approach things with curiosity over criticism. So no matter what you see in that parenting app, can you be curious rather than that go-to of being angry and that gotcha statement? And we get there by understanding how we show up, interrupting that pattern we don't like, and doing the work to create new patterns. Okay. How many pieces of information do you think your brain processes every second? And your brain's primary job is to keep you safe. How many pieces of information every second?
I don't know. Is there an answer? I don't know.
There is an answer. It's 11 million.
Oh, God.
So imagine if somebody's been married for 25 years, whatever 11 million is times those days, times those years, the brain is constantly processing past information, our beliefs about a situation, our environment. Even, we could be in Hawaii or we could be in our job, and we're going to have a different response to things. So we are never actually going to know what drove a marriage to fail, because it's these constant little inputs going on all the time. And it's also true that many people are able to regain their marriage and recover. Right. When it comes to pain, I try not to have people get caught up in the total why, because it'll make them crazy. Let's focus on where you are right now and what do we do to get you to where you want to be. And I think we can do the same thing with divorce. I've been in several divorce support groups, and we have an ongoing Signal group of about 40 people. And it is really sad to see people who have been divorced 2 and 3 years still struggling in those patterns that they experienced in the marriage, versus what can I do? How can I show up differently and protect myself so that, he or she may be that way, and I'm not having the same reaction.
Only now you got the kids that you can use as a weapon. So it's even more stick it in deeper and twist.
You know what? The stuff with kids, and I have 3 kids, and that was by far the hardest part of the divorce, is navigating and escorting them through that hell. And I hope you don't care that I just hell on your show, because it was.
Yep. And again, I kind of think of it as you're driving down the road. Do you want to veer off the cliff, or you just want to bounce off the guardrail and, do you want to keep going, or is this is where it's going to end? And, you can, pain is part of life, and get used to it, deal with it, manage it, as you say, get control of it. At what point do you want to bail out or pull the ripcord or call me? I get a lot of calls. People say, I just want to know what I would get, what my rights are, or what I can do about it.
Pain is normal. Living in pain is not. So yes, you sprain your ankle's going to hurt. If your ankle is still hurting 6 months, 6 years later, we have to get more curious. And so, yeah, marriages are not all bliss. There are going to be painful moments. However, if you are experiencing this emotional and physical pain of the marriage day in and day out, we have to get a little curious about what's going to be best for you moving forward.
I guess how to solve it, because now you got two people involved, not just yourself,
Correct.
And, sure, you can always get more sleep, eat better, get exercise, but then you've got this other person that's coming attacking you sometimes. So,
however, when we get more sleep and when we eat well, this changes the chemistry of our body. And in general, pain is driven by inflammation. They're very connected. So we have more inflammation in our body when we don't get sleep. We have more inflammation in our body when we eat lots of fast food and high salt and high sugar. And that's going to impact our physical experiences. It's also going to impact our clarity of thinking. It's going to impact, are we going to be responding with a depression or anxiety or anger? So these things seem like side pieces. However, these health behaviors make a huge impact, and we can handle the hard person around us better when we are in a better state of health ourselves.
I just going to go off script. I'll go off on a sideline here. You said that lack of sleep inflames your body. I mean, I know it messes up your head, and you just feel groggy and things like that, but it's all throughout your body also.
Yeah, so sleep is an essential part of health. Sleep is actually when our body heals itself, whether it is physical healing or emotional healing. That is when it happens. It's when kids grow. They don't grow during the day. They grow at night during sleep. And the brain it shuts down everything. So it shuts down every system except for your heart and your lungs, which is good. We're glad about that. And it does housekeeping. And so this is when short-term memory becomes long-term memory. This is where stuff we don't need anymore just kind of gets cleaned out. But think about it. If you have a house full of 5 or 6 or 7 kids, you're never going to get the house cleaned if those kids are running around. It needs to be quiet. There needs to be not much going on. So when people are not getting good sleep because they're worried about custody, they're waking up because they have stomach pain, because they're anxious about how much their spousal support will be, it is interfering with their entire health. One night of sleep disturbance, of a lack of sleep, is the same as driving drunk. And they've done different studies. I think it was the Dallas sleep study. They took college kids and they had them be deprived of sleep for 2 weeks. Their physiological markers, I think they had aged 30 years with 2 weeks of sleep deprivation. Now, the counter to that is they were able to reintroduce sleep and other health behaviors. And then thankfully, they were able to reverse that 30-year physiological aging. So
they're 20 years old. They're 20 years old.
Yeah. Isn't it good that they were able to reverse it? But imagine.
I have heard that if you have a lifetime of bad sleep, you have cognitive problems in old age, of like a pre-Alzheimer's or Parkinson now with Biden, but the lack of sleep for over a lifetime catches up with in your old age.
Yes. And what else does that lack of sleep lead to? Does that lack of sleep lead to more stress during the day? Does that lack of sleep lead to poor food choices, eating more simple carbs? And then this is also going to ramp up that systemic inflammation. And so all of these things are interconnected. And that's why I really feel passionate about people addressing all of themselves as they are preparing and navigating divorce, so that when they get to the other side, they've already done much of the healing and they're feeling better and ready to go.
And I'm thinking kind of how I can how I can use it. I can use it for myself, obviously, but how I can pitch it to my clients. Like, This is a long-term march. You're going to war and you got to be physically fit. You got to sleep and eating, and stop serving your kids junk food because it looks bad for the judge, and why don't you invite your spouse over for dinner once in a while and have a nice meal, because that's one of the factors in the Virginia Code on custody.
Yeah.
I could kind of sell it like that too. And then obviously having a client that is stable, really is also very helpful. That'll listen to me and understand the goal, because you can't just go to court and say everything that ever was wrong with your spouse. Really, nowadays, all the courts limit you on time. And so you've got, a half hour for your client, and then 5 minutes for this witness and 15 minutes for that witness. And you got to factor in cross-examination because that counts against your time in trial. So I'm sorry, but you just can't go off the way you'd want to and bring in, 50 different things that make you upset. We've got to focus it.
That is where the mental fitness preparation is key, because within that, we are able to recognize when we start to go in that spin. And that is that left side of our brain kind of taking over. And then, okay, we can interrupt that. And then we can be clear, we can be concise. And I'm sure you've already done the work of, these are the main things we're going to bring up. And what's most important to you to bring up? We can bring up 10. We can't bring up 45. And then that's part of their preparation too, is how can they answer, being clear, being concise, being poignant, and get their point across and be efficient with your time.
And convince the court that you got it all together. Even if you don't have custody, when you have visitation, you know how to take a baby seat and hook it into your seat belt, for Pete's sake, so the kid doesn't go through the windshield. Because you went to the police station and they showed you how to do it when you first bought the baby seat. And then the other side will never be able to say you didn't put in the baby seat the right way or whatever. And then you can kind of casually mention that. How do you know how to put in a baby seat? I went to police safety training class and they came out to the parking lot and did it in my car, so I know how to do it. Oh, okay. Little notch on your side of the scale. So that kind of thing. You take the parenting class, you pass it, you get the certificate, you file the certificate in court. That's the way I pitch it to them. We got a plan, follow the plan. And I need you on board. I need you mentally, physically healthy. And then that's going to go out to the kids. That's going to go out to the other side. And who knows, you invite the other side over for dinner one night and you work out 3 or 4 of the issues and we settle the case in the hallway and instead of a nasty, 3-hour trial. So things like that can always happen too.
When you say, I need you mentally, physically, and emotionally healthy, do they have any idea how to do that? And are they in a place to do that on their own because of the devastation of going through a divorce?
The answer is no. But again, I think that after this talk, it's going to be, you get sleep, exercise. Well, stop poisoning yourself. So no smoking, no drinking, especially around the kids. So get rid of that. Diet, exercise, sleep, stress. Did you join if you're an alcoholic, okay, you'll always be in it. Do you have a PIN? Did you join AA? You have a sponsor? I can bring him in for 5 minutes. Boom, and tell the judge, okay, great. He's got it under control, kind of. He's working in the right direction. He's whatever the steps, he's 5 steps in, whatever. He's got a sponsor that'll vouch for him. Again, we got a plan. Get healthy. We gotta go. That's kind of the way that I think I'm going to use what we talked about here. So don't feed your kid junk food. I always feed them salads. I always feed them, fresh vegetables because that's what's good for them. And they just casually mention that to the judge. And then if the other side is fast food, hamburgers, sodas, drive-through, well, now you've got a pretty good contrast there. The homework, the diet, the sleep, the rewards, the punishments, the organization. At least have a bedtime, something, some kind of a structure. No parties your friends can't come over on school nights when you have visitation. Yeah.
Very clear that you have so much that you offer your clients. I wonder if you ever feel like you are wearing multiple hats. In addition to being a lawyer, what else do you feel like you're doing with your clients?
I feel like I'm focused. And
Okay.
if I can bring in a laser gun here and artillery here and a minefield, it's all part of the battle plan. That's kind of the way and again, it's not just that you're eating better food, that you make sure your kids are taking vitamins, that kind of thing, and just mention it to the judge. I have like 200 questions on custody. I can't use them all, but I give that to the client ahead of time. And I say, how does this work? Who does the shopping? Who does the cooking? The kids help? Who does the laundry? Who checks the homework when the kid in the morning? Who makes sure you got clean socks? The socks match, and it goes on. So the clients will see that. Depending on the client, I give it to them in a PDF, or give it to them in a soft copy like Word, and they can tell me what their life is like. Typical day. Describe a typical day with your child. Okay, we get up, we got breakfast ready. What's the breakfast? It's orange juice, it's this, it's that.
That list sounds absolutely amazing. I've not heard of such a thing. So I think that's a total gift for your clients.
Yeah, it's everything that they could possibly do or say that would help them. I'm the one in charge with so they don't forget anything. I'm the one in charge of custody, bath night. You have what kind of soap? Yeah, the makes the bubbles, or the rubber ducky. That kind of stuff. Describe the bath. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes just saying, "Hey, give your kids more fruits and vegetables," might be enough. And other people, they might not actually know what that looks like. So it's easy for us to judge somebody that takes their kid to McDonald's every day. However, they might not actually truly know that McDonald's is not good food. It seems very logical to you and me. And so this is another reason that I approach it from a place of informing and helping them make the decision, because maybe they're not ready to give their kids salad every day, but they are ready to introduce fruit, or they are ready to buy wheat bread instead of white bread.
Right.
And so it's awesome when you have the clients who can be like, sure, I'm going to do that. Randall told me to do it, so I'm doing it. Yeah. And then you have the other clients who are going to need a little bit more hand-holding, and that's okay too, because everyone's in place.
You feed your kid baby carrots because he doesn't.
That's true,
it'll
right?
look better. Yeah. And then,
I could give you some crazy stories, but I won't.
That's interesting. Again, I just prepare the client for the courtroom, and then I'm done. It comes out however it comes out, and hopefully the judge sets it on the right path. Visitation every other weekend, 2 weeks in the summer, alternating holidays. We have kind of a standard schedule, and the judges like to apply it if they can. Deviate for religious holidays of different religions, but that's really about it. There's really no thought given to just getting together, go out to a park or something like that. It's, pick up, drop off. And then if you're 31 minutes late, you violated the court order, and the parent drives away with the kids because you forfeited your visitation. That's the kind of stuff. How do you sell that to your client, I guess, to convince your client, don't do that. Don't be that parent. Reach out. If they want a different visitation, go ahead. What's it going to hurt? Sure. Skip a weekend, or give them 2 weekends, or whatever. I kind of point to the factors in the code. Next time you're coming into court, you got this, right? Because you cooperate. You're the good parent. You're the one trying to facilitate. But I'm just kind of thinking out loud, you got the kids here. And if the kids see mommy drive off because dad's 31 minutes late for a visitation exchange, one episode like that is what they're going to remember the rest of their lives.
Yeah. So the way I would handle that is, it really starts with curiosity. You've heard me say that word several times, is getting curious with the client. What is important to you today? What is important for your children? And what messages do you want to be sending? And also, let's zoom forward 30, 40, 50 years. How important is it that he was 31 minutes late rather than 28? And sometimes taking that long perspective can help people realize, okay, maybe 31 minutes doesn't matter. Maybe it's good that my kids see us find our way, even though he was late. So a lot of it is curiosity and perspective building from the point of the client. So I don't do a lot of do this, do that. I ask a ton of questions, and then I help them decide what's going to be best for them, because we are all our own best expert.
What do you want the judge to know about you? That you're the parent that drives away after 31 minutes, or, you're the parent that sends over an extra set of underwear just in case every time you pack for the visitation exchange?
Yes. And are you, with the 31 minute, are you the parent at 31 minutes says, hey, everything okay? Versus, where the heck are you?
Oh yeah. I mean, now there's really there's no excuse. You can just text them,
Yeah, exactly.
And they have the text exchanges to prove you're the good parent or you're the bad parent. And then the kids kind of sit in the back seat with their heads down. But my grandmother used to say, little pitchers have big ears, so they don't miss anything.
The kid stuff, they are unfortunate, innocent bystanders in these divorces, and it breaks my heart.
Okay, well, I mean, this is great. I think, the way that you suggested is make the clients look inside. Is that what you want the judge to see? I think that's probably the key, is to get the client to think it through. A nasty visitation exchange, and somebody's watching from the outside. Who looks like the better parent? After 30 minutes, you start texting him, like, where are you? What's the ETA? Why don't we take the kid? I'll take the kids over to whatever, have dinner there, meet us there instead of at the regular place. To have a nice sit down meal for, a few extra bucks, and then turn it into a family event. That's how I deal with the parent being late all the time. Very
early on, we started talking about the power of visualization when we were talking about the courtroom. We can use that exactly with what you are talking about. So there is a nasty custody exchange, and then that person can do what you're saying. Is what's important about that exchange 30 years from now, 40 years from now. And then visualize that exchange and see yourself doing something different. Right. And when you see yourself doing it different, then you create the opportunity to actually do it different.
I'm going to use that, and I'll send you my list of custody questions. How about that?
Oh my gosh, that would be so good. I love that idea. That's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
Is that good? And then I'll tell you how I put your techniques into practice. I think that'd be great for me, and okay with you if we follow up 6 months.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. And if people need more support, I'm happy to support in any number of ways. If you're interested in, just an overview of the 2 online programs that I offer for your clients, great. I can do a 30, 45-minute presentation for you and however many other people you want. Any number of ways we can do it. I've done retreats for collaborative law practices for the practitioners and the clients.
Great. Okay. Very good.